welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to another weekend edition of the PondCast, episode 46. I'm Koshosai VIP. With you, I'm joined by the producer of the show, Koopa. Kuro is in the background, 16 Sports and Seki, alongside my plushies as well. I'm assuming my plushies are there. Otherwise, welcome one and all to a special and I guess new format of the podcast. For those who were not here last week, usually I'm not alone. Usually I'm joined by my lovely co-host Yaku the Zaku. But last week we did announce that Yaku, he otherwise did acquire a full-time job, and he did begin that a couple of days ago. So he's otherwise busy, he's otherwise preoccupied, otherwise focusing on his own IRL career, so he is not available to join us for the podcast anymore. When it comes to Yako being on stream, hopefully we can get him during the weekend, maybe for some weekend tournaments like Sparkling Tuna Cup or Sea Duckling Open and Master Swan Open. But I did already let him know that, like, hey, it comes down to whether or not he's well rested, whether he's okay. Again, I'm sure he wants to rest and sleep over the weekend more than anything after a busy week, but we'll see if he will join us at some point for another cast. For now, though, for the podcast, just myself alongside our producer. And it's time to jump into our weekly news, of course. Again, this is a weekly show where we go over all the news in StarCraft 2, all tournament results, and adjacent news as well related to StarCraft. First thing is first, we did have a new GLHF interview with Chickenman. Of course, a big shout out to Zombergrub. Zombergrub has been conducting these interviews on a very regular basis, did travel to Korea and did travel to Germany to Home Story Cup to conduct so many interviews to get ready for a big documentary series that will be upon us once all the interviews are edited or they're all cut down and once they are released to the public. And we are reaching the end. Slowly but surely we're reaching the end here. We've had so many interviews already. And of course, this is an interview from Home Story Cup. Shout out to Chickenman. Chickenman, he was already there. Chickenman, of course, he is a big name in the scene, a big community caster alongside ourselves, alongside the CranKy Ducklings and Dave Testa and Steadfast. We have Chickenman as well. And Chickenman, who was fortunate enough to be at Home Story Cup, was interviewed as well. And the interview was an interesting one. Again, we do recommend checking it out yourselves, as it was a very lengthy interview, 35 minutes. But for the most part, did go over kind of the history of StarCraft. It did begin with Chickenman's beginnings, how he got introduced to StarCraft, and then kind of went through different eras of StarCraft and kind of things that Chickenman remembers when it comes to certain eras, when it comes to certain players, certain storylines as well. Chickenman, because that it felt very nostalgic. It felt very nostalgic, definitely very relatable as well. As a fan of StarCraft, that's kind of what this interview was mainly about, is kind of the fan perspective more than anything, less so his career perspective, because he has been casting for quite some time. But the questions were more so about, like, oh, what do you think about this event or this era of StarCraft or this player, for example? And yeah, it was definitely interesting to hear his perspective, especially from someone from North America. He was talking about how early on he got introduced to StarCraft and how he was able to go to Barcrafts, for example, and some early offline events to take part in that, to watch as a fan in the crowd, being at BlizzCon, for example. Definitely very jealous to see someone again, in the Americas, to be able to go to something like a BlizzCon or like a DreamHack or an IEM that happens to be in the region at the time. So he was able to go to a lot of events and kind of give his own perspective on things as well. When it comes to so many things. Again, was it referring to Heart of the Swarm, Legacy of the Void, Swarm Host era of StarCraft? Personally, I think one of the more interesting things that was spoken about was region lock and kind of the foreign scene as well. He has his own unique perspective, being from the Americas and cheering for people like Neeb, like Scarlet as well back in the day, and having that kind of national pride and kind of national representation when it comes to these big events, of course, and cheering for players like Scarlet, like Neeb, like Snoot as well. Stefano did have something to say about a lot of those players, and it definitely was an interesting kind of perspective, an interesting walk down memory lane, because StarCraft is so different nowadays. They spoke about the rise of the foreigners in more modern StarCraft and how that rivalry between Koreans and foreigners isn't really the same anymore. Back in the day, Koreans were dominant in all ways, in all shapes, in all forms. And because of that, whenever a foreigner would rise up, it was so hype. It was so hype. It was so exciting. Referring to whenever a player would not even win a tournament, it was about taking maps and taking series. Like if a player could take a map or take a series, like they were renowned and everyone was so hyped for it. It was such a different era of StarCraft. I still remember cheering for players like your Scarlets, like Snoots as well, Vortex, Lucifron, Stefano, Patreus, Mini Razor. Like there's so many players from back in the day, and yeah, it was definitely a blast from the past going through all of that, going through certain players and going through certain tournaments as well. It's a very different dynamic nowadays, and just a very different scene as well, for better for worse. Yeah, nowadays where we have the dominance of like Serral and dominance of Clem, I would still say Clem is the best player in the world. But even then, it's a different dynamic whenever we see the Koreans up against the foreigners. It's still some of the more exciting StarCraft, personally, for me, seeing them face off against each other, Koreans and foreigners, I mean, but it's not the same. It's not quite the same. They also spoke about the transition into the EPT 3-year deal, which I don't think enough of these interviews have actually talked about. I do think it's a pretty important part of StarCraft. I do recommend checking out some of the VODs of the previous podcasts, but a discussion that myself and Yako did have, and that we kind of came to a consensus on, is just how much was like kind of going against StarCraft 2 when it came to its rise, specifically when it came to Korea, talking about how because of the tension between Blizzard and Casper, it meant that SC2 was less well received or wasn't really accepted by the community and by the scene, back in Korea, and that kind of did slow it and hinder it down. Spoke about the business model, about how it was an older school, kind of copy where you get expansions, right? It wasn't free to play. There weren't any microtransactions, and that kind of hindered and hurt StarCraft 2 in the long run, just because as it came out, a couple of years into it, that's when that kind of model did rise up in popularity, and how eventually we got there, but it happened quite late in its life cycle. Another thing that they touched on here, though, I was talking about what we had discussed previously, but what they had touched on here was the COVID era of StarCraft and EPT taking over and how hype it was. But at the same time, something that they didn't talk too much about, but I do think is important to bring up, is that as we transitioned away from Blizzard running things and into ESL running things, bam, the pandemic hit, right? COVID hit, and that hurt StarCraft in a big way. It helped in other ways. If you remember, viewership did peak a little bit, and player interest did increase because everyone was at home. True, everyone was at home during COVID, so there were more people watching, more people playing. A lot of people got introduced during the COVID era of StarCraft as well. The COVID era was a new wave of players when it comes to the ladder, when it comes to players doubling down and committing full time in the pro scene as well. That is true, but it also took away offline events. And for a couple of years there, I mean, IEM Katowice was online. A lot of the dream hacks were all online. Everything switched to a more online version. That did take away a lot of the hype. It did also mean that ESL, they couldn't monetize the events, because a lot of the money that they make are through ticket sales and also through selling things at these events, at these venues. That's where a lot of their like merchandising and that's where a lot of their profits come from, is not like ad revenue or necessarily sponsors, but like that's where they get their money, through tickets and through selling items like at said venue as well. And that was just gone for them, right, as like an income stream for supporting the tournaments like this. And that's a big thing that did hinder StarCraft as well. It's something that they didn't really speak too much on. They touched on it a little bit. I think they could have had a longer conversation about it. They spoke a little bit more about Ukraine, or what was happening with Ukraine, how that actually lined up with Katowice as well, and how that took away from a lot of what was happening at Katowice, because obviously, a big worldwide event was happening, referring to the invasion of Ukraine, and how, especially because of the proximity with Katowice being in Poland, how that affected some of the casters that were there, that affected some of the talent, that affected some of the vibe as well that was occurring when it comes to the event. Yeah, there's just a lot that came into it. And it was a really fun discussion, or really interesting discussion, I should say, that Chickenman did have with Zombergub. Partly, I feel like they could have gone a little bit more in depth when it comes to certain things. On the other hand, though, it was also a very general discussion, again, talking about more so players than anything. I personally wish that they spoke a little bit about Chickenman, right? If you're having an interview with a content creator, with someone who's more established in the scene nowadays, it would be nice to hear a little bit more from him when it comes to what got him involved into casting. That was not touched on at all, which I found kind of surprising. Chickenman, nowadays, he's a more established community caster. I think he himself had to bring up that he was able to cast offline at an ESL broadcast and brought into like the ESLB streams as well. And it would have been cool to have heard how he felt about that, how he felt coming into it, what drove him to start casting to begin with, what drove him to start making content. That was never really touched on. It was more so about his fan perspective, which has some value, don't get me wrong, but personally I wish that we could have heard from Chickenman himself. If we're interviewing the person, it would be nice to know more about them as well. That's my biggest criticism regarding said interview, but outside of that, again, it's I do think that it's very relatable. Again, I do think that especially if you were watching back in 2012, back in Heart of the Swarm, back in 2014, and also back in early Legacy of the Void, like they touch on a lot of different parts of history of StarCraft, and there's definitely a lot of reminiscing, a lot of nostalgia, kind of going down memory lane with a lot of the tournaments that they discuss. And that's mainly what the interview turned into, is that just talking about a lot of events, like talking about a lot of tournaments and a lot of players as well. But I do recommend it. Definitely do recommend it. Once again, big shout out to Zombie Grub as well. Actually, you know what? I'll link it in the chat. Bam. So you can tune into it a little bit later when you can tune into that interview. But a shout out to Zombie Grub, shout out to Chickenman as well for giving Zombie Grub the time to actually conduct the interview as well. And we do expect more interviews in the future. We're nearing the end. I want to say there's like a handful of interviews left from Home Story Cup and from Korea as well. And then once they wrap up, then it's going to be on Zombie Grub to piece together the entire documentary and bring it all and bring it home. That's going to be the hard part. The easy part is, cutting and subtitling all these interviews. The hard part is putting it all together, editing it all together into a cohesive narrative and cohesive documentary. So it's a big project, big endeavor. Best of luck to Zombie Grub. Best of luck. As that leads us into our next bit of news, that leads us into sOs. sOs, of course, we did go over his return. I think we're going to be going over some of those results as well, but sOs, of course, did return to StarCraft 2. It was last week that we did announce that sOs was looking for a team. sOs was looking for a team. sOs, he did express interest in returning to StarCraft 2 in a competitive fashion, and we did cover sOs's return to tournaments, and I think we're going to be going over some of those tournaments as well here this week, and it was great to see his return. He did get picked up by Streamer Zone. Streamer Zone did pick up sOs. They have a pretty hefty roster. I think Streamer Zone might be the biggest StarCraft 2 team currently in StarCraft 2. When I say biggest team, the team with the biggest pro roster. They got a lot of players, especially with Berserker Esports in a way disbanding and Platinum Heroes stepping away from their kind of pro team and now running tournaments instead. It does feel like Streamer Zone has stepped in as now the biggest team, and I'm a little bit concerned whenever there's a bigger team. Whenever there's a relatively smaller team that's picking up more players, because it's not unheard of. It happens quite often where you get a small team come in, they spend too much too quickly, and then they kind of they explode from there, or the bubble pops a little bit, and it's like, oh, like this is kind of becoming a little bit expensive, and now we can't pay all of our players, and now we have to take a step back, and things can go awry from there. So I'm a little bit tentative every time, but regardless, shout out to sOs and congratulations for finding a team. We'll be going over some of his results soon. Don't you worry. Of course, we did go over the GSL qualifiers, and we'll be indulging on that. Same can be said with the GSL main event. But congratulations to sOs and his return. Scrolling on over, we have another big sign up here. We have GuMiho. GuMiho is one of the players that we expected to join a team. If you recall, a lot of players have been being picked up by different teams in preparation for EWC. There are certain players that we expect to get teams. One of them was GuMiho, and he got one. He was able to find his place here at Seoul Esports. Seoul Esports is an Indian team, a team that I'd never heard of before, as they are usually competing in events in esports like Clash of Clans, Clash Royale, and Free Fire. So not a team that I'm familiar with, but they did have a cute video that they released, which is like them like at a news desk, breaking news sort of thing, like, oh, there's a new player on the scene, and then they showcase GuMiho as a new player for their team coming into EWC. So really cool to see GuMiho find himself a team that, again, I've never quite heard of before. They're taking their first step into StarCraft 2. Apparently, they also have teams and representation in Valorant, in Call of Duty Mobile, in PUBG, I think, as well, and some of the other esports. So, yeah, really cool to see that, again, they're kind of branching out into StarCraft 2 as well. Again, a big reason for that is the stipend, or is the bonus that they get from EWC. And now we have another player no longer teamless. Congratulations to GuMiho. When it comes to other players that we expect to be on a team soon, we are slowly running out. Zhao found himself a team, Shin, Hero, Classic, GuMiho. Players that come to my mind are Creator. Creator, he is a player that does come to mind when it comes to looking for a team and worth being on a team as well. Creator, he's had a bit of a rocky period. It doesn't help that last year he failed to qualify for EWC. If you remember, he was on Blacklist International, and it was very heartbreaking when he failed to qualify, and then of course he got let go by the team as well. The reason why Blacklist International got him was for EWC, and then he didn't quite get that result for them. So it was really rough. It was really rough for Creator when that happened. But again, he is a solo player. He's definitely a contender to make it far and to make it into EWC. But we'll see if he's able to land himself on a team as well. Creator comes to mind. The other big one is Showtime. Showtime, it's not just about Koreans, it's about the foreigners as well. We spoke last week, Spirit found a team, so Spirit, he's on a new team, but Showtime is another big one. Showtime, he's top 2 Protoss in Europe. Showtime, I think a lot of people expect him to be at EWC, so Showtime's another one. For those who don't remember, we announced that Showtime also did leave Berlin International Gaming. He's no longer on Team Big. He's currently teamless. He is a free agent, so he's the other big one that we're expecting to eventually find a team. I think those are the two that come to mind initially, is Showtime alongside Creator. If you can think of others, then go for it. But for now, that's who's on my mind, at least, when it comes to looking out for a big pickup. Oh, right. Estrella. Yeah, that's the other one. Of course. Estrella, right. Of course. Estrella's the other one who we weren't too certain if he would return, but he did come back last week. And Estrella, he was on Virtus Pro, for those that remember. Estrella, he was on Virtus Pro. And Estrella, he's also a good enough player to also make it to EWC, especially when it comes to qualifying through DreamHack Dallas. A lot of it will be predicated on the competition at DreamHack Dallas and who travels to that event as well. But those are the three. So yes. It is Estrella, Showtime, and Creator. Those are the three that come to mind. At least currently. Maybe there are some others, but for the most part, all the other players have been picked up at some point by another team. So that's who we're looking out for, and that's who we're expecting to see when it comes to player pickups as well. So fingers crossed that they're able to find a nice and solid team leading into EWC, as that leads us into our events. That's kind of like the last little bit of news here. Interview, a couple of player signups, nothing too crazy happening this week, not this time. But up next, we do have some tournament results, jumping into modern tournaments, jumping into StarCraft Evolution. Of course, we cast a lot of StarCraft Evolution here on the channel. We cast almost all big StarCraft Evolution events. This one was Kung Fu Cup number 8, StarCraft Evolution Edition. Kung Fu Cup, they do alternate every now and then. It's not the most consistent alternation, but every now and then they switch back and forth between Warcraft 3 Evolution and StarCraft Evolution. What I will say about Warcraft 3 Evolution is that it is a little bit rough around the edges. It is rougher around the edges. There's less I think there's a smaller team and there's less resources invested into Warcraft 3 Evolution, so it's a little bit more janky, and I think because of that, Kung Fu Cup have decided, or SC Boy have decided to invest more time and more tournaments into StarCraft Evolution instead.
So actually there is an explanation why. The reason is because the StarCraft Evolution has been updated, but the Warcraft Evolution has been not, and the SC Boy people decided that they want to wait for the Warcraft mode to be updated. But now, with what is happening with StarCraft Arcade, they cannot update the mod, so I guess they will be waiting until that's fixed.
Yeah, I guess it's going to be an indefinite period where they're waiting for the update to go through before they do jump in. So until then, StarCraft Evolution non-stop for Kung Fu Cup. Up first is Kung Fu Cup number 8. With this, we did cover this on our channel, of course, and we had Dark popping off. For those that are curious, Dark, he did already announce and he did officially retire. He retired, I guess we probably should have spoken about that last week, actually. But he retired on the 5th. The 5th of April was, sorry, the 5th of May was his final day competing. His final tournament was the Pigsty Festival. Pigsty Festival was his final tournament that he did partake in, and with that, that is going to be his last foray in StarCraft 2 before military service. I say we should have spoken about that this week. We actually haven't spoken about the winner of the Pigsty Festival, so I guess we'll be discussing that later on here in the broadcast. But yes, the Pigsty Festival was his final tournament, and Dark has officially retired. But, despite that, this week, or at least we were able to cover some of these tournaments, and Dark did come out on top here in this Kung Fu Cup, taking down Rebellion, taking down Geralt, taking down 3-Point as well. Dark, over the past couple of months, when competing in StarCraft Evolution, he's been having a lot of fun. It's been a little bit less serious, but a nice way for him to spread his wings and to enjoy himself and enjoy a different side of StarCraft with StarCraft Evolution. And yeah, Dark, I mean, again, he's very much so in form. We'll be discussing it a little bit more, I guess, when it comes to the Pigsty Festival, but it is a little bit bittersweet seeing Dark retire while also being one of the best players in the world. Like, I still stand by it. Dark, he currently is the best Zerg player in South Korea, better than Rogue, better than Solar, better than Shin as well. Like, he is still number one. So to see him retire, it's again, bittersweet, as you mentioned. It is bittersweet, and wish him the best, of course, when it comes to his future endeavors, when it comes to his military service, when it comes to looking after his family, and when it comes to post-military service as well. So much love to Dark. Has done a lot for the scene and is, the Kung Fu Cup weekly number 8 champion. GG. GG, well played. Taking down Geralt in the finals 3-0. For those of you that didn't tune into these VODs, hyper-aggression. Hyper-aggression in a lot of these games. A lot of all-ins, a lot of aggressive plays. Dark looking like a beast, as he always does in Kung Fu Cup. GG. GG, well played. That leads into the Golden Retriever Cup number 1. This is an event that I did not see coming, that I had no idea about, but it was organized by Iceland. That should be a name you're familiar with. Iceland actually did play in some Kung Fu Cups. Makes sense. He is a Chinese player, I believe Chinese Protoss player from my memory, and he did compete in a Kung Fu Cup number 7, if I'm not mistaken, and it looks like that might have sparked a little bit of maybe competitive drive in him, as he is the organizer and sponsor of this new tournament. Now, is this going to be a regular? Hard to say. On Wikipedia, it is listed as a monthly tournament, so it might be a monthly, it might not be. So we'll keep an eye on these Golden Retriever Cups to see if he does compete, if these do continue to be a regular tournament. This is a regional event for Chinese players. So once again, interest from the Chinese scene in StarCraft Evolution. I'm sure SE Boy a big part of that. Iceland as well. I don't know if Iceland is also a content creator, but he did cover the event. He did cast the event. And in the end, SpongeBobble even, took the win. GG. So shout out to SpongeBob in the end. A lot of these players I'm not familiar with. A lot of these are more amateur players. I see Kuroi Humor. I think I remember that name. And some of these other players that I'm not too familiar with. But yeah, it's really cool to see a lot of interest here. We had a round of 32 brackets, so a big bracket, a lot of interest, a lot of players. And this is all solid stuff for StarCraft, for the future of StarCraft Evolution. To have this more amateur or have these more regional events have a lot of interest, and then kind of like spark that competitive drive amongst these players to improve and to strive for more and to keep things going. So a very healthy kind of sign here when it comes to other StarCraft Evolution tournaments. Very healthy sign. So congratulations to SpongeBobble for winning the entire event. I didn't watch the games myself, but I'm sure he did play very well. And again, we'll see if this becomes a regular tournament. Shout out to Iceland for hosting the event. GG. GG, well played. That leads us into the SEL StarCraft Evolution League Code A number 3. This did take place not too long ago. Again, shout out to Hyper One. Hyper One has been hosting these more amateur events for StarCraft Evolution. Basically, this is limited. This is restricted to players that are lower than 5.6 or 5.7k MMR, depending on the region, and also players that failed to make it further in these big events like GSL, DreamHack Masters Europe, DreamHack Masters North America, Latin America as well. Basically, if you're an established pro player, you're not going to be involved in this. That's kind of the cut and dry. So this is a way to foster that Code A level or that up-and-coming scene when it comes to StarCraft Evolution. So it is restricted, it is limited, and once again, Prome comes out on top. Prome, he has been very, I mean, he's the only player to win this tournament. Prome, he's a Korean Protoss player. We've casted him in ourselves. I mean, we casted StarCraft Evolution League Code A 1 and 2, and Prome has been looking very, very strong as of late. I would say that Prome is maybe top 5 Protoss in StarCraft Evolution. I think I would place, maybe I would say top 5 Korean Protoss. Like, I would place Classic above him, Rebellion, and probably Ateshi as well. Probably. So Rebellion, Classic, Ateshi, and then I think I would place Prome there. Maybe Lunacy above that, and then maybe Prome. Like, I would place Prome as like number 5 or number 4 Korean Protoss right now in StarCraft Evolution. Again, he has no big accolades when it comes to StarCraft 2 tournaments, when it comes to GSL or anything like that. So Prome, he's doing well for himself, winning once again, taking down Gunner in the finals. Shout out to Gunner, the Ukrainian Protoss. He is very cheesy. He does a lot of cannon rushes, does a lot of cheese, does a lot of aggression. Gunner is a very cheeky player, so to make it to the finals, impressive stuff, but does fall in the finals to Prome. GG. GG well played, so shout out to Prome for winning once again, and the question becomes, can anyone bring him down? Did drop some maps, did drop maps to Gunner, but only one. Only one man. And I'm sure that was a cannon rush, by the way. I'm sure it was a cannon rush. That leads us out of our modded tournaments. That leads us into the Amateur League weekly tournaments. Again, this is a regular weekly tournament series where they do actually have different events for different MMR ranges. Different league ranges, different MMR ranges. So up first, we have Bronze to Platinum. We had a Bronze to Platinum tournament, and we had Your Edge getting the win in the end here. Your Edge takes down Atlantean Scion 2-1, Ragnar 2-0, and Ragnar 3-0 in the grand final. So a big win there for Your Edge. Atlantean Scion was the only player to take a map off of Your Edge, but he fell in the best of ones in the lower bracket early on, so he did not get a chance at a rematch. So regardless, congratulations to Your Edge for the win. Apparently a Zerg player. Ragnar, congratulations for getting second place. Also a Zerg player as well. Do see in the chat. So very well done. Very well played. I know that Ragnar, I think, did win this tournament last week. So has been a very regular competitor in a lot of these amateur and non-amateur tournaments. That leads us into the Veteran Edition, Diamond 3 to Diamond 2. A little bit less participation here, but players that we are familiar with. We see Pretty Fly. Pretty Fly takes down Balimko 2-0 and Balimko 3-0 in the finals. Pretty Fly is a regular in our amateur tournaments, so is a player that I recognize and does take the win in the end. GG. GG will play to Pretty Fly, aka Horseradish. That leads us into the Prestige Edition, Diamond 1 to Masters 2. That leads us into players that, again, we are quite familiar with. We have Beast and Dizzy Dwarf make it all the way to the finals. I recognize Zigger. I recognize Blade of Ire. I recognize Medic Jr., Steez, Defiance as well, Cos Phoenix, Legoland M. A lot of players here that, again, are regulars in our tournaments. I mean, regulars in our amateur tournaments also faced off in this tournament as well, and Dizzy Dwarf takes the win over Beast. I feel like usually Beast has the edge over Dizzy Dwarf typically, so really cool to see Dizzy Dwarf fighting back and claiming that win here in the Prestige Amateur League Weekly. Shout out to Dizzy Dwarf. Again, he's a Polish Terran player. Does come out on top in the end. That leads us into the Elite Edition. This is for GMs. As you can imagine, GM is a bit of a more vaguer league. It's quite large. It's quite large brackets, but it looks to be a little bit less interest typically when it comes to the M1/GM version of this. We had Cobblestone versus Patches. Cobblestone 3-0. GG. GG well played, but again, it does seem like there's just a little bit less interest when it comes to events for the Elite Edition of this Amateur League Weekly. Hopefully we can get some more GMs involved next time. Maybe next time. GG. GG well played. That leads us into the Passioncraft Emerging Stars number 14. This is another region. I say region. Look, this is another MMR restricted tournament for players that are 5.5k MMR and below. Because of that, we do get a lot of semi-pros, semi-professionals. The big one here, Inexorable. Inexorable is the Brazilian Terran player. He has many accolades to his name. I would say he's the best Terran in Brazil at the moment. Diego is not in Brazil, but a big shout to Inexorable. Does take the win, takes down Roman the Mold 2-0, Mini Zerg UA 2-1, and PSZ 3-2 as well. Very intense games, a lot of ace matches. A lot of these players are regulars in online tournaments, and they are very competitive with each other. And to see all these ace matches, even in PSZ versus Gref as well, Cool to see. Cool to see. Despite the level of these players, as long as we get some close back and forth, then you can get some amazing StarCraft out of them as well, regardless of skill level. So really cool to see. GG well played. Inexorable does claim the win, just barely. And with that, Inexorable, he qualifies for OC Elite Rising Star 16. Does qualify for the 16th edition of OC. That leads us into our next tournament, the Toho 2v2 Cup number 2. Again, Toho, I believe this is organized by the Toho Project, the team. That would make the most sense in my mind. But this is a Chinese region-based 2v2 tournament, and there are a lot of teams here. There are a lot of duos that I'm familiar with. I see Lancer and TATP. I see Silky as well. I see Oriana, GG Machine, and Shameless. My apologies. I say region locked. It looks like it is not region locked. As GG Machine and Shameless, I think their advantage is that they are on a Chinese team, so they're probably notified. They're on Team Little Fairy, so they're probably notified. Like, yo, we got a 2v2 tournament. Want to play? Let's go. So really cool to see them compete in this tournament as well. Looks like they didn't quite make it too far in the event, but in the end, we actually had Restart and Cassie. Okay, not the duo that I was expecting. I say it didn't make it far. GG Machine and Shameless, they made it to the quarterfinals. They went down to Oriana's team. Very impressive by Oriana. I rate GG Machine and Shameless quite highly for good reason, by the way. They did perform very well in New Thermal's tournaments, and we'll get there. We'll get there. But they only made it to the quarterfinals. Scrolling down, do we notice any of the other big ones? Lancer and TATP, they went down to Restart and Cassie, who went on to win the entire thing. I'm a little bit in shock here, and I'm very impressed and very surprised that Restart and Cassie won the entire thing. Very impressive. Not an easy performance to bring down Lancer and TATP. And again, a shout out to Oriana's team for also bringing down GG Machine and Shameless, just because I rate them very highly. I rate them very highly in 2v2. So impressive stuff, and congratulations to Restart and Cassie for claiming the win. GG. GG well played. That leads us into the next big 2v2 tournament, and hey, talking about GG Machine and Shameless, they also competed in New Thermal's 2v2 circuit as well, the April edition. Now, we did not cast this event live, we went through it via replays, and we were adminning the tournament instead, so we were busy working behind the scenes. This was covered by New Thermal and by Steadfast, by Indian Sub-Zero as well in the respective languages, and this was a special edition of the tournament. Now, if you know anything about 2v2s, you would know that we've only ever had one duo win this tournament, and that is MaxPax and Spirit. MaxPax and Spirit, I would go as far as to say they are the best 2v2 team in the world. Straight up, they're the best 2v2 team in the world. You do not get better than Spirit and MaxPax. But in this tournament, one of those players was missing. MaxPax was not there. Likewise, I would say without a shadow of a doubt that the second best team in the world for 2v2 is Trigger and Clem. Trigger and Clem, they're the second best team, second only to MaxPax and Spirit, but they also weren't here either. The reason for this, at the same time as this tournament, there was a Wardy tournament. I believe the Wardy Spring Championship, there was another Wardy tournament happening at the same time, and Clem and MaxPax, as you can imagine, they were in the top 4. They were in the semifinals. They were competing in that tournament, so they could not play in this tournament at the same time. They were competing in Wardy's tournament, and I think Clem ended up winning. I think MaxPax went down early. I think he went down to the semifinals or something along those lines. But because they were playing in Wardy's tournament, they could not compete in this tournament, and that means we had a new set of finalists instead. We had Spirit and Showtime making it through, and Trigger did not compete, did not find a replacement, so we had a new finalist as well in Skillus and Laser. So shout out to Skillus and Laser, Team Liquid. They are an amazing duo, is what I will say. They work really well together. They're good friends, obviously are in voice together as well, and they went for a very deep run, taking down Nickrat and Geralt alongside Milky Cow and Wayne, but they did fall to Spirit and Showtime. And Showtime was a really nice replacement for MaxPax. Did step in, did fill in where, again, MaxPax would otherwise, leave a vacancy here in Spirit's team, and they actually worked really well together. And I was a little bit surprised, but Showtime was a little more aggressive. He was a little more aggressive in these matches. He was less turtly and less macro-oriented, and he was very in the face of his opponents, and he really paired quite well with Spirit. And I would say that even Showtime was the star player of the team. Very often, Spirit was kind of in the background. Spirit was often kind of like tanking a lot of shots or doing his thing, whereas Showtime was a lot more flashy, going in and killing mineral lines and sniping key units and sniping tech and getting out of there and really dictating the pace of the game. So it was really cool to see Spirit and Showtime work together. Likewise, Showtime usually played with Lambo. This week, because Showtime was with Spirit, Lambo played with Harstem instead. So we had the streamer content duo with Lambo and Harstem. Likewise, we did also have some other interesting pairings, GG Machine and Shameless. GG Machine and Shameless, they did play quite well. They performed well. They made it to the semifinals. Again, there's a reason why I rate them quite highly. They even forced Spirit and Showtime to the ace match, which is why I'm surprised that duo fell so early on in the other Toho 2v2 tournament instead. So a little bit surprising there. But regardless, Spirit and Showtime, they do claim the win in the end. They do take the championship. GG. GG well played. Again, this is a monthly 2v2 tournament, and the next event, the next May edition, is going to be, I think, next week. It is coming up, and
it's actually this Sunday.
Yeah, so this Sunday, in a couple of days, on the 12th, is going to be this week's, or I should say this month's tournament, so do check that out, do tune in. That is, of course, open to all players, so if you are out there, if you want to compete, find a friend, find a partner, team up, take part. It's going to be a lot of fun. Gonna be a lot of fun as we are nearing the end of year finals for that youth level circuit. So do tune in and do take note as they are accumulating points and building up towards that end of year circuit. Up next, we do have the All Things Protoss Team League. Up next, the Spring Split, as we have wrapped up the group stage. Oh boy, the group stage did wrap up, and in the end, in the final week, we have our results coming in from the top. From the top in Group A, we have Overslept. They were up against Goobers in the end. Bomyoja tied up 1-1 against Sebestis. Sebestis off racing. Shout out to Bomyoja there. Shout out. Impressive result there, going 1-1 with Sebestis. Likewise, we had Franz versus Asaril, tied 1-1 as well. And in the end, Goblin's Terran takes down Fiance Protoss 2-0. So a big win there for Goblin and big win there for Overslept for bringing down the Goobers. Up next, we have the Gooners versus Cinque de Fromaggi. Let's go. We had Heaven going down to Baby Marines Protoss. Then 2-0. Then we had Frogos taking down Arky 2-0. And it came down to that best of 3. Came down to Gunner and Larimbo. Gunner 2-0 against Larimbo Zerg. That's impressive. That's very impressive. I was not expecting that. Gunner, I mentioned before, is a very cheesy Ukrainian player, and I would expect cannons and proxies. More cannons and proxies. Crazy. GG. GG well played. That leads us into Smurf time versus Blinken Park. As we had Magnath taking down Lulis 2-0. We had Mars Bar and Vendativic tied 1-1, and we had Hydra and Gref tied 1-1 as well. So thanks to Magnath, his team was able to take the win. Heading over to Group B, we had the final week as well. We had Off Race taking down Cannons 4-2, Danielo taking down Rake 2-0, Xenodactyl and Sacred Coconut tied 1-1, Solidisus and Elutin tied 1-1 as well. So shout out to Daniela for carrying there and for claiming that win for his team. We then had Feline versus Monkey as well. We had Nishio tied against Kneehead. We had Wing at 2-0 over D-Smoth. We had Spazzy Mazzy 2-0 over Ledlix. And it went down to the ace match with Spazzy Mazzy also taking another game off of Ledlix in that final ace match. Very impressive performance there by Spazzy Mazzy and Feline. That leads us into Baguette versus Viet Cong. Cobblestone and Anticore tied 1-1. Haroku taking down Maikoto 2-0. Impressive that the French player on Viet Cong beat the French team. Just saying. God damn it. And then we had Azura and Akadon tied 1-1. In the end, Viet Cong did claim the win. And with that, we have our final standings. In the end, in Group A, we had Blinken, Dark Templar, Smurftine, and Gooners getting out of Group A. And we had the Viet Cong, No Monkey Magic, and Feline getting out of Group B as well. My heart goes out to those teams that did not make it through. I know that Yako was very hyped for Cinque Fromaggi and Overslept as well. And the Goobers. I mean, there were a lot of notable teams in Group A did not make it through. Likewise, Forced Off Race, Baguette Crusaders, and Only Cannons also didn't make it through either. So GG well played. With that, that leads us into our deciding matches. We have our matches lined up to start in a couple of days. In 2 days' time, we have Gooners versus Feline, we have Smurf Time versus Monkey, and we have Blinken versus Viet Cong. So here we have, I would say, seeding matches in a way to get into the final playoffs and to get into those final matches. So best of luck to all those teams involved. Best of luck when it comes to those standings. And check out Gemini's channel for the meme content. Gemini, this is, again, an All Things Pro Tour Team League. This is more of a meme league. There's a lot of banter. There's a lot of joking. There's a lot of off-racing. There's a lot of memes happening during the broadcast as well. So shout out to Gemini. Big shout out. As it does organize a lot of that. As that leads us into our regional events and our show matches as well. Up next, we have the Brazilian StarCraft 2 circuit. So the big event happening in Brazil here. It's huge, it's massive, and it was definitely an endeavor to get through, not gonna lie. We got through all of Group A, all of Group Stage 1, and we got through all of Group Stage 2 as well. We were, of course, the official English casters for this event, and we have eliminated players. Purple, Sefidofe, Vic Bansimer, and Dakon were eliminated from the group stage. All the other players were able to make it through, either seeded further along in the tournament or seeded into the playoff bracket. We had Kamikaze, Dominoko in first and second in Group A, Eric and Claw, Inexorable Allison, Master, and Shakti. For the most part, no major upsets, no major crazy results coming in, but now we have formulated the bracket itself. This is where everything comes down to this final bracket. Up first, starting in, again, this weekend, starting in a couple of days, we have Kamikaze versus Shakti. They're facing off in the TVP. We have Eric versus Allison in the ZVP, Inexorable versus Claw, and Master versus Dorminoko. We have a solid lineup here. The best of the best players in all of Brazil are facing off in the playoff bracket. As a reminder, the finale, the grand finals, and I believe the upper bracket finals, lower bracket finals, the end of the event is going to be featured at a live event in an offline venue in Sao Paulo. So a big offline venue has been booked, and it's going to be in June, so still a month away, but in June is going to be a big offline event, and we are looking to determine which players are going to be invited and which players will be traveling to Sao Paulo for that big offline tournament. This is still the online portion over this weekend, but again, we're going to be working through the bracket and eliminating players as well. Oh boy. Players are going to be eliminated. So best of luck to all the players involved. Again, we're a little bit biased. We have a big, I have a soft place in my heart for Eric. He's one of our boys. He's one of the Ducklings. So much love to Eric. Best of luck. Best of luck. Again, it's going to be over the weekend. We'll be over that weekend. Scrolling it over, we have the Legacy Weekly Japan 454. I want to say this might be the longest running tournament. Like, there's just so many of these events throughout the course of the years. This week we had Psyarch. Psyarch takes down Vicevania 2-0. This, I would say, is to be expected when it comes to the history of Japanese StarCraft. But we also know that in recent times, Vicevania, alongside Noticon and some of these other players, have been bringing Psyarch down. So Psyarch, he's not as dominant as he used to be. Does not take a map, he doesn't drop a map in this entire tournament. Actually, my apologies, he dropped a map to Crimson in the first round, but again, like, we have seen him drop maps and drop series here on a more regular basis. Despite that, does claim the win. So GG, big win there for Psyarch. That leads us into the Chicken King Team League 2025 Spring Regular Season. We went over the qualifiers last time and went over round 1. Round 2 has concluded. This is a big team league happening amongst the Chinese teams, and it does include a couple of foreigners as well. There are definitely some foreign players that have been picked up by these Chinese teams to take part in these tournaments. First, we had Starlight Twinkle versus PCEC. Jollywa Loves takes down Mixu 2-0. Big win there for Jollywa. Young Zest takes down his opponent 2-0, and Triple H goes up and ties up 1-1 with his opponent as well. It does get tied up there. And again, Starlight Twinkle, they're one of the stronger teams. I know there's a lot of people are more familiar with Mixu, that is true, but Jollywa Loves, he is no slouch, and that is a big win there for Jollywa. Very impressive. GG. That leads us over into the Rookie Warp Gate up against Toho Project. We do see Rookie Warp Gate take the 4-2 over their opponents. So big win there for Rookie Warp Gate. That leads us into Team IW. Team IW up against Little Fairy. I would say that Little Fairy is also one of the bigger teams here in the league, but they actually don't get the win. Shameless was tied against his opponents, and in general, we were tied up as well. Ear going 2-0 against Ghost Runner. In the end, it barely go the way of Team IW, an ace player that I'm not really familiar with. An ace player that, yeah, I'm not too familiar with them as a player here. Google Translate. What do you have for me? Oh, Tsukino Deer. We've seen him before. That deer, Pappy, that deer does take the win in the end. GG. That leads us into Team Elpis versus Team Hist. In the end, did go to the ace match. Again, very close series here. Does go the way of Elpis in the end. Nanami Tiaki going tied 1-1 with TATP. Oriana takes out number 2-0. Ooh, there was a forfeit in that third round. And in the end, SCV does win over TATP. GG. GG, well played. Again, looks like round 3 is going to be in a couple of days, or is going to be tomorrow, I should say. So best of luck to all the competitors coming into round 3 of the Chicken King Team League, and we'll find out who becomes the biggest chicken amongst all the players. We'll find out next time. So again, we'll keep you guys updated. That leads us into the Sunrise Cup at 2025 Spring. We went over the qualifiers last time, but now the main event has concluded. Oh, okay, main event has concluded. And with that, we do have Nanami. Nanami Chiaki takes down Cyan 4-3. Sorry, takes down Lancer 4-3. A big win there for Nanami Chiaki. Again, it was a very close series. Surprisingly to me, I rate Lancer quite highly. I would say that Lancer is probably the best player in China. Like, when I think of the best players, I think of Lancer. I think of Kofi, I think of Jeshi as well, but Lancer I do rate quite highly. So for Nanami to win the series, that's a big win there for Nanami. GG, well played, congratulations. Does claim the win, and again, I do wish the best to you. I mean, that might bode well for maybe the future of the Chinese scene for Nanami in general. I know that Nanami doesn't really play in many events outside of regional tournaments, so this might spark Nanami's interest in branching out and playing in KSL or playing in other big open tournaments. Hope to see more of Nanami. Big win there. GG, well played. That leads us into the Little League Cup 39. This was a best of 7 show match between SCV and Oriana. We just saw that SCV was the ace player for his team in the Chicken King Team League. Right. Oriana has also been back on the rise.
You missed 38.
Oriana has already been back on the rise. Before that, we are going to go over number 38 though, and this is a tournament that we actually casted earlier this morning. Actually, we featured 4 players. Now, going into this, Little League Cup actually does have different formats. Every now and then, sometimes they have an 8-player bracket, a 4-player bracket, a GSL group, round robin group. Little League Cup, they do whatever they want when it comes to their formats. We appreciate it. We appreciate it every time. They also have some fun graphics. No. What did they do to Lancer? As we do see, for some reason, Lancer is looking a little bit pixelated there when it comes to how they cut his face. I'm shaking my head. Este Lancer, but yes, we had GuMiho, Lancer, Scarlet, and Jeshi facing off. I mentioned earlier that I rate Lancer quite highly. This is the reason for that. I mean, look at this. Scarlet took down Jeshi 3-1. A big win there for Scarlet. And I would say potentially the return of something. Scarlet has been very MIA and very much so on hiatus for quite some time at this point. Scarlet has not really been very active when it comes to online tournaments. So it was really exciting to see Scarlet return. I think for context here, Scarlet, the last time she played regularly was back last year in August of 2024. There's a massive gap between August 2024 and March, where she played in the Boomer Bash. The Boomer Bash was the next big event for Scarlet. So many months later, at that point, like 8 months later, did compete in Boomer Bash, then in a Big Bang Bout, and then here in the League Cup. So Scarlet, she's been a little bit more active recently. Is this the return of Scarlet? Is she going to be, playing in qualifiers again and competing regularly again? It's hard to say. Regardless, great to see Scarlet while we can. It's great to see her return after so long, after almost a year of hiatus. It's great to see Scar's return, and she does take down Jessie 3-1. GuMiho takes down Lancer 3-2. We were praising Lancer earlier, talking about how Lancer has been improving and getting better and better results, or how Lancer is the best player in China, and does go to the ace match against GuMiho. Went down to Nanami Chiaki earlier. That's why I'm like, yo, that's a big win for Nanami Chiaki. Taking down a player that went to the ace match against GuMiho, for example. And GuMiho is in form. GuMiho does win the event 4-0 over Scarlet. Big win there for GuMiho. It was a very dominant showing, very aggressive, a lot of mech, a lot of cheese, a lot of proxies as well. It was a very short series, what I will say. that best of 7 was a bit of a shorter one, and we actually covered that earlier this morning. I do recommend the VODs. Again, it's great to see the return of Scarlet, but like, is it actually her return? Is she playing just for fun, or is she gonna, hunker down and commit once again? Hard to say. Hard to say when it comes to Scarlet, but I appreciate seeing Scarlet whenever we can. That leads us into Lily Cup number 39. 39. This format was a little bit different. This time it was a best of 9 1v1 between SCV and Oriana. SCV does claim the win in the end over, best of 7, I meant to say. SCV does claim the win over Oriana 4-3. We have been seeing more and more of Oriana. It's great to see his return. Oriana used to be very active as a player. Nowadays, less so. So I appreciate to see Oriana once again, and he's looking more in form. I'm really, really happy to see him getting better results. 100%. It's great to see more of Oriana. That leads us into the Super 7s number 41, a best of 7 show match. Oh my god. Best of 7 between Shin and Bunny. This one is a little bit bittersweet. Does anyone know what these players have in common? This took place on the 2nd, I think. The 2nd of the month. I think this was after the GSL qualifiers. We went over the qualifiers last time. We're going to be going over them here tonight, but I guess this is a bit of a teaser to that. Bunny and Shin, they're not a part of GSL. They are amazing players. They are some of the best players of their respective races. I'm a big fan of both Shin and Bunny. They both failed to qualify for GSL. It was very heartbreaking, and that might be why they were invited to this, because this event did take place after the qualifiers. So in my mind, that makes sense. This is like a consolation, or just a way to give back to the players that dedicate so much to the game. For them not to make it into GSL, they get a show match here instead. And in the end, Shin does take it. It went all the way to the ace match. It was a banger. Again, they're both Codes level players. Not this season though. And again, Shin does claim the win 4-3. GG. Big shout to Shin. Much love. Much love to Shin. As it leads us into the Super StarCraft Global number 19. Another big Soup event. Again, I should also emphasize, Soup is the rebranding of Africa TV. These events are not broadcasted on Twitch. They're not broadcasted on YouTube. They're broadcasted on the Soup platform instead. So it is another streaming platform. So just bear that in mind if you want to tune into that. This was a 4-player single elimination bracket. We featured Byun, Kyor, Shin, and Hero. In the end, Hero, I would say, coming in as a heavy favorite, did go to the ace match against Byun. Shout out to Byun. Big shout out to Byun there for forcing the ace match to go all the way to game 5 against Hero. And then Hero had the 4-0 over Kyor. Dominant result there in the finals. Hero, again, I would say he is the best player in Korea at the moment. I would rate him above Maru for the time being. We'll get into that when it comes to the GSL qualifiers, but again, here he's very much so in form. Does take down Kyor 4-0. Kyor took down Shin 3-1. In the end, Hero does claim the win. GG. GG will play. That leads us into the Bastos Big Brain Mouths number 96. I know this one. let's go. This was less than a week ago, which is crazy. Around a week ago at this point. Welcome to a show match that had some interesting players, is what I will say. We featured Pi, Dave Testa, Light, Zombie Grub, Hero Marine, Yang Yakov, and Euthermal Baby Marine as well. I was notified 2 weeks ago that I would be. Shout out to Rotterdam. He reached out. He was like, "Yo, I want to see you play some StarCraft." I was like, oh no, what does that mean? He's like, I want to feature you in a show match, mate. I've been hosting these big brain bouts. I actually wanted to reach out to you earlier, but I couldn't get a hold of you. Let's play. And I'm like, let's go. And I want to say, after hearing that, every single day for 10 days straight, I was laddering on stream. I was streaming, I was laddering, I was practicing, I was improving. I did not know who I was playing against or who my opponent was going to be until like 48 hours, less than 48 hours before the event. So I had very little time when it comes to specific preparation. But once I found out it was going to be a Terran, once I found out it was going to be Zombie Grub, I did try to look up some builds. Specifically, I looked up an Eric build. Of course, I was going to look up an Eric build regardless it was going to be Protoss or Zerg or Terran. I looked up an Eric build. I did a couple of hours of practice with it, just like empty custom games, just grinding and drilling the build over and over and over again. I also got a message by Pi. Shout out to Pi, the Polish Zerg player. As you can see, went up against Dave Tesla. Apparently, he had a show match against Zombie like 3 months ago. He had a show match against Zombie like 3 months ago, and Pi lost horribly. it was brutal, Pi. Pi, I love you. It was brutal. But Pi did link me, and I was actually trying to look up some Zombie games, and there wasn't really too much. I was like looking up Zombie YouTube channel, and there was a little Zombie off racing. She doesn't ladder a lot on stream, so I was having a hard time like finding games to study. But Pi sent me the VOD on YouTube. Very grateful. And something that I noticed about Zombie is that she was playing mech almost exclusively. It was either proxy or mech, like one or the other. So I did I did look up an Eric build that is designed to shut mech down. So I did grind it out, and when it came to the show match itself, it actually worked really well. Game 1 and Game 2 went for it, and as you can imagine, mech occurred, and I was very prepared for it. I was able to get a lead in the series. Then the unspeakable happened. Zombie switched to Protoss. I didn't even know. It wasn't until like 2 minutes into the game, you can see it on the VOD where I reacted to it. I was like, Protoss? What's going on? I didn't even realize I was not practiced or not prepared at all for versus Protoss. So I was very, very flustered, and with that, Zombie was able to bring it back. In the end, though, we were able to claim the win. So GG will play. Shout out to Zombie, especially because from my understanding, from my knowledge actually, Zombie was traveling. She went on vacation with her mother to Korea like a couple of weeks ago, and then went to Japan right after that as well. So it was Korea, then Japan, and then I think like a week ago maybe came back home. I say a week before like the show match, then came back home. So I know that she was traveling a lot, and of course is busy making a lot of content as well. Does not have the most amount of time to practice and to prepare and to ladder. So I fully understand that. Definitely rough around the edges. Definitely understandable. And yeah, I look forward to seeing more of Zombie in the future when it comes to these show matches. And again, in the end, we did take the win. We were very fortunate in that. And yeah, the hard work paid off. I do recommend checking out the VODs. When it comes to the other show matches, of course, we had Pi versus Dave Testa. Again, shout out to Pi. I do want to give credit to Pi, because without Pi, I don't think I would have been as prepared for Zombie Grub. Also gets the win over Dave Testa. Did go to the Ace match, very intense back and forth. I do remember watching their matches, and they actually had an off race in game 1, and then they went to their main races afterwards. It was very intense, very back and forth. I'll be honest, I was expecting a lot of cheese out of Dave Testa, but no, he played some macro. He played some sword macro as well. It was very impressive to see Dave go up against Pi. In the end, Pi did take it. Then we had Gabe versus Young Yakov. Gabe did take the win at 3-1 over Yakov. Gabe, of course, he's the big name. He's the heavy hitter. Was expected to perform quite well. And then we had Uwu Thermal versus Baby Marine. And it's always fun seeing Euthermal in these tournaments. I rate Euthermal's TVT very highly. I would say TVT is his best matchup, and we have seen Euthermal take it to the best Koreans in the world, or the best players in the world, the best Koreans out there in TVT. So I would have even said, yo, give Mark Gabe. Give him Gabe, and Euthermal could still win, unironically. So, like, I do think that there was a bit of a mismatch here. Shout out to Baby Marine, he's a strong player, don't get me wrong, but like Euthermal's TVT is insanely good. So in the end, did take the win. Congratulations. And do check out all the VODs over on Roddy's Twitch or over on the Basilisk YouTube channel. Do check it out. Let's go. Lily Cup freelance. Yeah, they do freelancer tournaments. For sure. Yo, shout out to Yen in the chat. Come to Sao Paulo. I would love to. Yo, shout out to Cosmos. Early on, he was like, yo, if you happen to be in Sao Paulo at the time, you know, you can definitely like come and cast from the venue. I'm like, that's amazing. No shot. I'm gonna be in Sao Paulo, but I appreciate it nonetheless. One day, Papi, one day. So shout out to the Brazilians out there that are going to be competing and there at the offline event. But again, big shout out to Rodan for hosting, for organizing these show matches. I know a lot of work gets put in behind the scenes, and not easy to find all these players and to pit them against each other. So really cool to see. That leads us into the May Mayhem. This is a new event that did kind of spark up. We will be casting it, but we'll be casting day 2 onwards. We missed out on day 1. Day 1 did take place a couple of days ago, last weekend. This actually was happening at the same time as KSL. So we had to pick and choose. We could not cover this event at the time because KSL was instead was ongoing. That's where our priorities did lie. But this is a round robin group stage featuring Hero, MaxPax, Showtime, Clem, Cure, and Shin. This is a crazy strong tournament with an insane lineup. I do feel like more eyes should be on this. Right now, I believe the only caster is Inu casting in Korean, but as I mentioned, we will be stepping up as English casters starting this weekend. And I say this weekend, starting tomorrow in 16 hours. So we are going to be, this is going to be our next stream, is going to be the May Mayhem day number 2. And day 1 did conclude. Clem takes down Hero 2-1. Shin takes down MaxPax. Big win there for Shin. And again, Shin's not in GSL, but he's taking down people like MaxPax. Like, he's so good. He's just not in GSL. Feels bad, man. Feels bad. Kira had a hard time. Kira, I rate Kira's TVP really highly. Like, he has some of the best Terran versus Protoss in the world, but it just wasn't his day. Wasn't his day. Down to Showtime 2-0, down to MaxPax 2-0, down to Hero 2-0 as well. A rough day there for Cure, and GG, well played. In the end, we have our final standings. It's hard to say who will make it out. For Shin to take down MaxPax, that bodes well. That bodes well for a ZVP. Bearing in mind, it's a Protoss heavy group. We got Hero, we got MaxPax as well. Arguably, these are the top 3 Protoss players in the world. Like Hero, MaxPax, and Showtime. For top 3, you can make an argument for Zaun or for Classic, right? There's an argument to be made. But regardless, like, these are the best Protosses, so best of luck to Shin, best of luck to all the other competitors, of course, as well. Again, tomorrow is going to be Showtime versus MaxPax, Shin versus Hero, Clem versus Cure, Shin versus Clem, and Showtime versus Shin. A lot of matches, a lot of StarCraft over the weekend. That, of course, alongside day number 2 as well, day number 3. Looks like next week is going to be the bronze match, the gold match, the silver match as well. Interesting. So there's no bracket, in a sense. After the group stage, bam, you just have, yeah, you have your matches separately there. That's a unique format. It's a unique format. Best of luck to all the players, of course. Likewise, that leads us into the OSC events for the week. Oh boy. Leads us into our OSC events. But again, tune into the CranKy Ducklings. We're going to be covering the May Mayhem here on the channel in English. We'll be all over that. Up first is the OSC Elite Rising Star number 15. We do have some results coming in. Again, this event usually takes like 6 months. It takes a while for the event to really progress, but looks like the first round, for the most part, has wrapped up. We had Aragfire taking down Baby Marine, Percival took down Jomek, Art took down Siege, Sebestes took down Homeowner and Mixu. Nice win there for Sebestes. Nickrak took down Art and Moja as well. Big win there for Nickrak. Meanwhile, we have Chance taking down Inexorable. UD Soldier taking down Lidlix. Bappy takes down Shameless. Lulis takes down Hatsu. Milkika takes down Demi. And Lunacy takes down Iroh as well. Some of these results, I'm pretty sure we went through last time. Some of the events, I'm pretty sure we had already iterated. But one of the reasons why this event takes so long is it is double elimination. It's a big double elimination bracket, so it takes a long time to get through this event and a long time to progress. So best of luck to all the players, best of luck to all the competitors, and we'll do our best to keep you guys updated. We'll do our best. As that leads us into the OSC King of the Hill Weekly number 209. Oh boy, oh my god, as Terran wreaked havoc here. Bjorn takes down a Shameless, Chance, and Demi, getting a 3-game win streak. Bjorn was the king of the hill to begin with, and then who brought him down? Spirit. Piotr comes out of nowhere, takes down Bjorn, takes down Creator, Percival, Cristiano, Young Yakov, Middle VK, Luna C, Celestis, Bay Marine, Aragfire towards the end. A massive win streak, but he gets stopped by the TVT sniper himself, Nickrak. He misses the chance to bring down Bjorn, but he brings down Piotr at the end, taking down Spirit and Iba to end the night. only Terran champions. Crazy. Beyond Spirit and Nicorette. Non-stop blue there when it comes to the wins, when it comes to the results. Again, a crazy win streak there from Spirit, taking down Beyond and Creator. Those are some big names alongside many of the other Europeans as well. Spirit, he's back. I would say that Spirit has been a little bit inactive as of late, but now that he's on a new team, remember, Spirit, he recently did join, was it R8 Esports? No, RSC, that's it. He recently joined RSC Esports, so Spirit, I'm sure, is reinvigorated. I'm sure he's motivated. I'm sure he is burning with passion and spirit on a tear. GG. GG, well played. Shout out to Spirit. That leads us into our next OSC Weekly 210. Oh my god, back-to-back OSCs. Here, we're missing our Terrans. We are missing Spirit until the end. We're missing Beyond. We're missing Nicorette as well. So shout out to Eddie. Eddie, you know, he was able to construct the narrative here. He's like, you know what? I gotta calm down with all these Terran wins. I'm gonna just exclude the Terrans and bring in everyone else instead. The Protoss were able to have some stronger results here. Jomek takes down Hatzel to 1-0 initially. Sebestes then goes on a win streak. Taking down Jomek, Moja, Baby Marine. 3 wins in a row before going down to Milky Cow. The Cow goes on a tear. The Cow takes down Sebestes, GG Machine, and Rebellion before going down to Eva. Eva, a brief kind of win there. Brief reign from Eba as he goes down to Night Phoenix. Night Phoenix goes down to Shameless. Shameless goes down to Geralt. Geralt goes on a brief win streak against Percival. Goes down to Max Pax, and Max Pax goes on a tear, taking down Geralt, Jumi. But in the end, Max Pax, he falls to Spirit. The 2 teammates, the partners, the brothers in arms, the ex-Psystorm players, they face off, and Spirit takes the win. That's impressive. It was only 1 win for Spirit, but for anyone to bring Max Pax down, for Spirit to do it off of the back of last week's OC performance, big win. Like, again, Spirit has been on fire as of late, and Spirit is definitely one to keep an eye out for when it comes to a lot of these big online events. You know, the return of Spirit is here. He's in form. Show us what you got. Let's see what other big wins he can achieve when it comes to the online open tournaments. We'll get there. So keep an eye out for Spirit. That leads us into our next big event. That leads us into the OSC 2025 mid-season playoffs number 1. Oh boy, so far, Dave Testa, and I believe Chickenman as well. They've both been covering the event. They've both been casting, both been covering, and I believe, fun fact, I just got messaged, we are going to be covering day 3 of this tournament. Day 3 is going to be here on the CranKy Ducklings. Day 1 and 2 have concluded. For those that are curious, the OSC mid-season playoffs, this is like the big online tournament. OSC, they are partnered with most, if not all, online events, online open cups, and they provide OSC points to be seeded and invited into big tournaments like this. So when it comes to big online tournaments, OSC, they have some of the biggest, and a lot of results just came in. A lot of results have come in. We have Bappy. Bappy takes down Rebellion 2-1. Young Yakov takes down Jumi 2-0. That's a big result, actually. That's a big early result. Yakov over Jumi. Cham takes down Baby Marine. Cristiano takes down Moja. Minovik takes down Demi. Sebestes takes down Luna C. Trigger takes down Milky Cow. Björn over UD Soldier. UD Soldier over GG Machine. That's a crazy result. I favor GG Machine there, so GG Machine knocked down early on. Art takes down Shameless. Another big win there for Art, by the way. I believe that's the Polish Art, so very impressive. Skillless over Mixu. Geralt over Homono. Arrowfire over Hydra. Percival over Nicorette. That's a big win for Percival. And Chance over Hatzel. Showtime over Chance. A lot of results. And as you can see, similar to the OSC Rising Star tournaments, double elimination, massive bracket, a lot of matches are underway, and we'll do our best when it comes to our coverage of this tournament. We're going to be covering like 6 or 7 best of 3s. It's going to be a big broadcast, a lot of matches, a lot of StarCraft. When it comes to things to come, Spirit is in the bracket. Has yet to play, but I look forward to seeing some Spirit. Trigger also in the bracket. Mana also in the bracket. Mana also another big name that has been getting some big results in the Peakside Festival. We'll get there when it comes to those results. But Mana has also been on a tear. We have Björn. Björn is also a big name in the tournament. Skillless as well. Geralt Showtime. Bunny has yet to play. Bunny also in the bracket. So there are a lot of big names. A lot of competitors here. A lot of contenders. Solar at the top of the bracket, of course. We are missing some regulars. I don't see Clem. Clem is not here, not this time. But coming into this bracket, coming into this tournament, my eyes are going to be on Max Pax. Wait, is he a part of this? I don't think he is. Never mind. I thought I saw him for some reason. Max Pax not here. Actually, my eyes, interesting. Yes, Spirit, Solar, Trigger, Björn. This could go anyway. This could go anyway here. I'm a bit on the Spirit hype train, also on the Björn hype train right now as well. Showtime, always a lot to look forward to. I didn't notice Shin. True, Shin is also there. Let's go, Shin, Solar. Hard to call this early on. Check it out. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing, going to be beautiful. So do check out the OSC mid-season playoffs as we wrap up our OSC tournaments. Again, we're just we're blazing through some of these results. Up next is going to be the Open Cups. There's a lot of Open Cups to go through as well. Before that, we are going to be going on a short break, though. We're going to be going on a short break before we indulge in all those results. Again, going through KSL, Hatchery Cup, Sparkling Tuna Cup, Woody TV Monday, Monday Night Weeklies, Pigasaur Monday, Pigasaur Festival, a lot of GSL, and Woody TV May as well. There's a lot of content, a lot of Open Cups to go through. For now, we're going to be going on a short break, and when we come back, we'll have those Open results. See you soon. right, welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that short break and the brutal OSC as we return. We returned here with the later portion of the PondCast. Again, this is your weekly dose of news here and updates when it comes to tournaments for StarCraft 2. Went over some of the news earlier, or again, a brief amount of news when it came to player changes and player swaps and also the GLHF interview. But now we're here with the Open Cup portion of the broadcast. Up first, we have the KSL. You notice something? Here this week, KSL number 74, the Korean StarCraft League. This is a weekly open tournament and zero Zerg. Zero Zerg. My heart, papi, my heart. We, of course, did cover this alongside Chickenman, Dave Testa as well. We were all over this event, and we had nothing but Protoss. We had Hero, we had the Classic, we had Creator, Lunacy, Rebellion, Estrella, Bunny, Beyond, Cure, and Percival. In the end, Hero went through undefeated. There's a reason why we do rate Hero. I mean, Hero is the best Protoss in the world, and arguably the best player in all of South Korea right now. Going by without dropping a single map. So far, Hero, he continues his win streak of never losing a KSL. In the history, this year in 2025, we've had quite a number of Korean StarCraft leagues, and Hero has won every single one except for one. There's one KSL that he did not win, and that is only because he didn't play. He just didn't play that 1 week. There was 1 week where he didn't play. Outside of that, he's won every single KSL without exception. Here we had Beyond having a good performance. Like Beyond, he did well for himself. Beyond, he took down Bunny, took down Creator in the best of 3, but did fall to Hero in those finals. So congratulations to Hero. Very well done, very well played. Shout out to Estrella. We mentioned earlier that Estrella, he did make his return a couple weeks ago, like 2 weeks ago at this point. Estrella, he went to the ace match against Classic. Estrella has been looking very strong as of late, has been looking very in form. Alas, not enough to bring down Classic, but close regardless, and a really strong showing from him. Hope to see more of Estrella in the future, and again, congratulations to Hero. That leads us into the Hatchery Cup. I should also mention that in the KSL, that kind of marked, would I say a rivalry, but a trend, maybe a rivalry. Beyond and Creator played a lot this week. Beyond takes down Creator 2-1 in that best of 3 in KSL. Here, Hatchery Cup, do you see who's in the finals? Beyond and Creator. Beyond beat Creator in KSL. Creator beats Beyond in Hatchery Cup. Best of 5 final. Shout out to Hatsu. Hatchery Cup, of course, is a monthly open tournament. Every single month there's a Hatchery Cup. Likewise, barely any Zerg competitors, despite the name. Zerg only a name. Shout out to Dr. Graf. Shout out to Fellinger as well for competing. Beyond going all the way to the finals without dropping a map. Creator going all the way to the finals also without dropping a map as well. And in the end, Creator did take down Beyond 3-2, went all the way to the ace match. Of course, we did cover it in English over on our own channel, so you can check out the VODs there if you're interested for some more Creator and Beyond action. That leads us into the Sparkling Tuna Cup, where we were going to have a Beyond versus Creator finals, but that was denied. We did see that Geralt had a really good showing against Beyond, went all the way to the ace match in that best of 3. Beyond taking down Geralt 2-1, and we saw that Arrowfire had a crazy performance. He didn't just take down Creator, he took down Skillous. He took down Nikita. Arrowfire in PvP popping up. Takes down Skillous 2-0. Takes down Creator 2-1. Arrowfire on fire does fall to Beyond. And I'll be honest, Beyond was looking very comfortable. In this finals. I do think that Geralt had a stronger showing against Beyond. But what I will say is that Arrowfire, clearly his prowess is PvP. That's where he was dominant. That's where he did excel. That's how he was able to get himself and bring himself to the finals. So shout out to Arrowfire again, performing very nicely and very well, making it 2-set finals. Beyond does win it in the end, but a shout out to all the competitors we had here tonight. Technically, we also had no Zerg representation in Sparkling Tuna Cup. We had Eva. Fun fact, he played random and he rolled Terran every game. he rolled Terran every single game. He was very upset about it. He was very sad. He was smudging quite a bit. Feels bad, man, when it comes to Eva and when it comes to Zerg. I'm like, you could have just picked Zerg or something. You're just saying. You chose to play random, by the way. Eva. So, in the end, it did go the way of Lunacy, of course. And again, congratulations to Beyond winning the tournament and being our Tuna Cup champion for the week. Heading on over, we have the What is TV Monday, another weekly tournament, an Open Cup, where we did have a PvP finals. Now, this week was interesting because it wasn't just this tournament, but in general, Clem was MIA. Clem was missing in action, whether it came down to this weekly or some of the other weeklies as well. Clem was nowhere to be found, and instead we had, likewise, this was MaxPax's tournament to win. And MaxPax, he was the number 1 seed of the tournament, and MaxPax, he did not make it far. He did not make it past the quarterfinals. Mana instead. I'm telling, every now and then, Mana, he just pops off. Like, we've seen Mana defeat MaxPax before and take it to some of the best players in Europe and even in Korea as well. It's like every now and then, it's like Mana, he's like charging up his mana, if you will. And then like once a month or so, like he pops off and he snipes a big player. Then he has to recharge again. Like it takes a lot out of him. It takes a lot out of him. But every now and then he just snipes a big name, then fades away into obscurity again, and then he comes back, takes out another big name, then fades away. So it's, yeah, Mana, he's a little bit inconsistent because of that, but he's still a very strong player in his own right. Again, Mana took down Hearthstone, took down MaxPax as well, did fall to Hero, but Hero did not take the win here. I would have said that without MaxPax in his way, Hero would win everything, but no, Classic popped off. Classic over Cure, Classic over Beyond, Classic over Hero. This was not an easy tournament, by the way. It was not easy at all, so very impressive play by Classic. When it comes to the finals, I will say that Hero did seem a little bit off. Hero, it felt like he was hyper aggressive, and he was, again, kind of trying to dictate the pace of the game, and he failed to do so against Classic. I mean, they're also very familiar with each other, so I'm sure a little bit of mind games came into play, but at Classic he came out on top with a stronger showing, of course. So GG, very well done. With that leads us into our next big event. That leads us into the Monday Night Weeklies, where once again, no Clem. Clem did not play in the What Is TV Monday. He did not play in the Monday Night Weekly as well, either, I should say. Hero, he went on a tear, and he went almost undefeated. Took down Goblin, took down Piotr, took down Björn, and even took down MaxPax. Took down MaxPax in the finals, went to the ace match, went all the way to game 3, but in the end, Hero does claim the win. When it comes to MaxPax, he was able to bring down Lunacy, Percival, but he actually fell to Björn. He fell to Björn in the upper bracket. MaxPax did get his revenge in the best of ones, but again, only in those best of ones where Hero was still able to look dominant, especially without a Classic here to stop him. Classic actually didn't play. Classic did not play in the Monday Night Weekly. He was not a part of this event. So with that, Hero could breathe easy and claim the win. GG. GG well played there. When it comes to Mana, he did take part. Went down to Lemon in the first round. We mentioned before that, again, Mana, he's a Titan. He's a Titan Slayer even, but he needs some time to recharge his Mana. He does need some time there. So with that, GG well played. Hero does taking the win. That leads us into the Biggest on Monday. Biggest on Monday number 30. Once again, do you see what I see? I see no Clem. Clem did not play in this tournament. Now, I say Biggest on Monday. Technically, this was the Pigasaur Tuesday, as this was not on the Monday. This was 24 hours later instead. They did make the decision, of course, to actually host this event a little bit later to try to make it easier for players to sleep and to rest and to not be as degen. I appreciate the sentiment. I appreciate the initiative. So to try to avoid those degens staying up 24 hours and playing and everything, this is instead 48 hours later. And we had MaxPax. MaxPax, he was looking in form coming into this, but Creator knocks him down. And we once again, as I mentioned before, Creator versus Beyond. For the third or fourth time this week, Creator versus Beyond, they face off in the finals. They play so often nowadays. This time, Beyond beats Creator. Remember, Creator beat Beyond in Hatchery Cup in Game 5, in the Ace match. This time, Beyond beats Creator in the Ace match. They trade back and forth. This time, Beyond does take it. And this also feels a little bit bittersweet because, again, Creator, clearly he's good. I mean, hey, he beat MaxPax. He beat Beyond earlier. He forced Beyond to the ace match this time. Despite that, not in GSL. Not in that's merge, might be merge. Likewise, Shin having a rough week here. Shin, he goes down to Percival early on. I say Shin having a rough week. Percival, big win. Percival, he has been improving. He's been getting better. And Percival, he does take down Shin. That was a crazy upset, I would say, in the quarterfinals for Percival to claim that win. GG, well played. Also, the return of Dolan. Dolan has not been an active player in quite some time, so Dolan to make his return was a lot of fun. We did cover Dolan's matches. We did cast him. He had a great performance over the week, over that tournament, and I look forward to seeing more of Dolan over the next couple of weeks, as this might be marking his return coming into DreamHack Dallas. We'll keep an eye on him. Keep an eye on him. GG, well played. Shout out to Bjorn, of course, for being this week's champion. I don't know if this is going to be a regular thing. I don't know if the Pickasaur Monday will now become Pickasaur Tuesdays. I don't know if they want to commit to that or if they will be switching back. Hard to say. Is hard to say. I'm sure we'll find out soon. Meanwhile, we had the big event of the week, the big event of the month, the Pigsty Festival #6. Oh boy, massive tournament here. Last time we were going over the upper bracket quarterfinals, we were theorizing and contemplating, I think Yako was very hyped for Dark, having a deep run and going for it all. I think there was some hype around Mana as well. Mana had a really strong performance during the group stage, a crazy result. We were also big Bunny fans as well. In the end, Dark, he popped off. Dark, he takes down Cyril 4-3. Crazy win there for Dark, showcasing his prowess in ZVZ. And again, this is why it's bittersweet. It's a big win there for Dark. It's great to see him doing well. He's also very in form, and this is his final tournament. This is his final tournament before retirement. So GG, strong showing there. What a way to go down for Dark, to defeat several of all players, who I would say is the best Zerg player in the world right now, to take him down. In the end, he did fall to Hero. Again, Hero has been Dark's kryptonite for quite some time. Hero does have a winning record over Dark. And Hero, he was looking very in form, working his way through Bunny, working his way through Dark. Bunny also went through Mana. In the end, Cyril, he got knocked down by Dark, of course. He took down Cure, but Cyril did fall to Clem in a very close best of 7. Went all the way to the ace match, went barely the way of Clem in the end. Big win there for Clem. And then we had our grand finals. Clem versus Hero. Clem, we may have missed him in a lot of the online open tournaments, but here in the Pigsty Festival, he does take down Hero 5-3, back and forth. Again, I would say that Hero is the best Protoss player in the world right now. I would say he's currently in better form than Max. So for that to go the distance, GG, well played. Didn't quite go all the way to the ace match in that best of 9, but went damn close regardless. And it's great to see a back and forth between them. Likewise, great to see a back and forth between Clem and Cyril. Part of me wishes that, again, Dark and Hero was a little bit closer when it comes to scoreline, but Hero has had the better of Dark for quite some time at this point, so not the most surprising result there. GG will play. Congratulations to Clem for winning the Pigsty Festival. Shout out to Hero for getting that second place, and of course Cyril and Dark for 3rd and 4th respectively. GG, well played. And with that leads us into the WardyTV May qualifier number 1. The qualifiers have been taking place. I say qualifier number 1, and qualifier 1 and 2 did conclude. In qualifier number 1, we did have our top players making it through. I believe top 4. Yes, top 4 did qualify for the main event. The rest of it was for seeding purposes. We had Max taking down Goblin 2-0, Rex 2-0. Did fall to Trigger. Not an easy run for him. He takes down Zound, takes down Max. Trigger, he has been in form. He has been on point. Amazing to see Trigger popping off the way that he has. Does fall in the finals to Classic, but a big win there for Trigger nonetheless. Does claim a big win. Likewise, that leads us into the lower portion of the bracket. Classic takes down Mana 2-1. Classic takes down Shin. Classic also qualifying. Shin actually qualifying over Bjorn. Shin takes down Bjorn. And in the end, we have Max, Trigger, Classic, and Shin qualifying for the main event. Likewise, that leads us into qualifier number 2. Again, there were 2 qualifiers taking place. Here we had, likewise, top 4 players. We had Bjorn, Jumi, Spirit, and Percival. Ooh, that's a crazy upset, I would say. Bjorn takes down Shameless, takes down Jumi. Bjorn, number 1 seed. Jumi takes down Geralt, falls to Bjorn. Spirit takes down Goblin, but Percival takes down Creator. Creator, he has been looking so good as of late, but Creator does fall to Percival. Creator, he will not be a part of WardyTV May. My heart goes out to Creator. Congratulations to Percival. Not just that, Percival takes down Creator, takes down Spirit. These are really important wins, actually. Like, this week specifically, Percival, I just really want to quickly go over his matches. I know that Percival, he's not a full-time player anymore. He said that was the case as well when it came to his return to StarCraft. He took a long break, a long hiatus, and then he recently came back at the start of the year. but yeah, just double checking. Yeah, Percival, he was absent for almost all of 2024. Like 2024, he was gone from the pro scene. He only recently came back at the start of the year. But Percival, in recent times, he took down Spirit, took down Creator, took down Shin in the Pigastore Monday. Took a map off of Max Max, took a map off of Classic. These are big wins for Percival. Very impressive, and I guess we can go over some of those other impressive results during the qualifiers as well for GSL. So Percival, he has been posing a threat. When it comes to the Water TV May tournament, I believe, quickly checking here, we have the invited players. Okay, oh my god. So going to the main event, we have our qualified players: Classic, Max Max, Trigger, Jumi, Bjorn, Percival, Spirit, and Shin. When it comes to the invited players, invites I wasn't expecting. Huh. Curious. Goblin, Bunny, Young Yakov, and Zaun. Very intriguing invites. Looks like there are still 4 more invites to go. So it looks like we have not yet set in stone the players that are taking part in this. But it feels a little bit lopsided, not gonna lie. First things first, there's barely any Zergs. There's as to be expected, I suppose. Only Shin and Young Yakov. With Max Pax in the mix, because Max Pax qualified, I would expect to see one of the other big names step into the ring here for Terran and Zerg. I would hope to see like a Solar. I would hope to see like a Rogue, for example, potentially a Clem, potentially a Cure. Those are the players that come to mind here. We'll see. When it comes, again, the invites to me are a little bit interesting. I think some of them are based off of performances in the qualifiers. Like I did notice Down and Bunny performing in the qualifiers, so might be based off of that. But we'll see what the final groups will be looking like. When it comes to the groups themselves, they'll be starting tomorrow. We have Group A. We have 2 Protoss and 2 Terran. We have Trigger, Zaun, Bjorn, and Bunny. Coming into this group, it's going to be an interesting one. It is round robin group stage. Jesus, round robin group stage as well. When it comes to this group, prediction time. I see Yaku in the chat as well. Maybe you can give us some predictions for Group A. There's a lot of hype around Trigger. I gotta be there for Trigger. Like I'm gonna be going for Trigger for this one. Bunny, big fan, but I have to give credit to Bjorn. Bjorn has also been on the grind this week. He has been grinding. He's been performing very well. So I'm leaning towards Trigger and Bjorn. Currently, Zaun and Bunny seem to be a little bit off, or seem to be still in a little bit they're still trying to rise up, and they're not having the strongest of weeks, is what I will say, from the side of Zaun and Bunny. But I wish them the best. Group B is Percival, Spirit, Young Yakov, and Goblin. This is going to be a weird one. I would say Piotr as number 1. Piotr, we were hyping up Piotr when it came to OSC King of the Hill. Like Piotr, he has been looking like a beast as of late, so I cannot disregard Piotr. And I also got to be on the Percival hype train. Percival has also been looking really strong as of late. I was just praising some of his recent results with Percival taking down Spirits and Creator and Shin, and also doing quite well in the GSL qualifiers. So yeah, Percival has been looking very in form as of late, so I got to give it to Percival. At the same time, I know that Young Yakov has been improving a lot. I know that Goblins are spending a lot of time playing 2v2, so I know that there's value in that as well. Kappa. So we'll see. Let's go. Yaku, Trigger, Bunny, Percival, Goblin. Oh, I see. So we're locked in. We're locked in step for Trigger and Percival. Again, I went for Bjorn, Yaku is for Bunny, and I went for Piotr, and Yaku goes for Goblin. Understand? I mean, I respect the 2v2 practice. I respect it. It's good. So best of luck to all the competitors regardless. And when it comes to Group C, yet to be determined. So we'll find out next week. But that does wrap up the Water TV Monday. That leads us into the final big event of the broadcast. Also, before I get ahead of myself, when it comes to the Pigsty Festival, I am familiar that stats are released. So really cool to see Piggy did this for Pigsty Festival number 5 as well. Apparently, $1,000 were raised for the next Pig Fest, and also did release like the post-mortem, like the stats, the viewership, and all the live views and hours streamed. So really cool to see Pig make this graphic, and really cool to see that funds were raised for the next event. We don't yet know when the event is going to be. Again, congratulations to Pig. He's about to start a family. I know that his partner is now with child, and they have confirmation of this. I know that they're going on a vacation, and I want to say that maybe when Pigfest 7 happens, that there might be a little piglet out there in the world. Another one, I should say. Not his brother, but his son/daughter. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see where that takes place. Shout out to Pig, to Jared, and the family that they're about to begin. Much love. That leads us into the GSL qualifiers. GSL qualifiers, we did go over this week, and the GSL qualifiers were very brutal. They were very intense as well. Congratulations to all the players that made it through. There was a unique kind of format here when it came to the GSL qualifiers. We had actually some seeding matches as well. So in round 1, we had GuMiho, Hero, Maru, Classic, Rainer, Bjorn, Cure, and Solar all qualify for GSL. Some big wins here for our players. Again, no one was invited, no one was seeded into the main event. Everyone had to qualify. So it was great to see Rainer, his hard work paying off. Rainer, he's back from the Rift. Rainer, he did go to Korea to play in GSL. Rainer did drop a map to Percival. That's why I was praising Percival earlier, for being the only person to take a map off of Rainer in the qualifiers. Likewise, we were able to see some players make their return. DRG comes to mind. DRG does come to mind. He did play in this qualifier. I wasn't sure if he would. Did go down to Rogue. Did go down to Nightmare as well. Nightmare made his return. I know he's been playing a lot of Deadlock as of late, but Nightmare also making his return to the qualifiers. Another one, Ryung. Ryung is another one who did not qualify for the main event. When it comes to notables that didn't qualify, Ryung didn't qualify. Neither did DRG. Scrolling down, we had the seeding matches. Bjorn, GuMiho, Classic, and Hero, they all seeded further into the group stage 2, so they're seeded past group stage 1. So those are just some seeding matches taking place. And we had the last chance qualifier, where the players that got knocked out earlier, they were invited into a final chance to qualify. In the end, Rogue qualified, Trigger qualified, SOS qualified, and Nightmare qualified. What this means, I mean, shout out to SOS. SOS takes down Bunny 2-0, Nightmare 2-0. Really strong performance there by SOS. When it comes to players that failed to qualify, Ryung, DRG, Zaun failed to qualify, Bunny failed to qualify, Shin failed to qualify as well, Percival alongside them. So yeah, some really brutal results, Players like Zaun, Bunny, and Shin, we expect to be in GSL, didn't make the cut. The reason for this as well is that this season, GSL has a stricter format, only 12 players. GSL is a 12-player event. Usually it's at least 16, if not 20, but GSL has been shrinking over time. So for it to only be 12 players, that is brutal. It's brutal that there's only 12 players, only 12 competitors. Yeah, because of that, there's just less room here. Again, I would say that SOS making it through was I would say an upset. And again, because of that, Bunny didn't have a chance at making it through. Likewise, Nightmare took down Bunny as well. So really, really cool to see SOS make his return, but it also means that there's less room for some of these other players. So my condolences to those that did not make it into the main event. My condolences, my condolences. Paylet Jr., there you go. So congratulations to those that did qualify for the main event. The other big name that is missing is Stats. Stats, we were waiting to see if he silently retired or if he played in the qualifiers. Stats is one of those players that we were waiting to see if he would actually take part. Stats did not take part in the qualifiers. This more or less confirms Stats, he has stepped away. He has stepped away, which is a shame. You know, he was at I Am Katowice last year. Like Stats, he did dedicate some time to StarCraft last year, and he did relatively well for himself, but looks like that was short-lived, as he has decided not to compete in this season of GSL and not to compete in StarCraft for the time being. There's always a chance for Season 2, but if he's not here in Season 1, most likely not going to be here in Season 2 either. So my heart bleeds a little bit. So shout out to Stats. Will not quite be there. All right, I failed to mention another name. Creator, another player that will not be a part of GSL. I glossed over that name earlier. Creator, he went down to Bjorn again. God damn it. Creator, he went down to Percival in the qualifier, and he went down to Bjorn in the qualifier as well. Bjorn, every time he's there to stop him. That's again a little bit bittersweet there. To see Creator not make it through the qualifiers. I know he's been having a hard time, and I know that this isn't necessarily going to help him when it comes to his emotional state. GSL being, the big event in Korea, so my heart goes out to those that were not able to qualify, and I wish them the best for Season 2. Do wish them the best. When it comes to the main event did take place last night. Last night and the night before that, 2 days of GSL. We'll be going over those results next time because we are going to be casting the replays in a couple of days. Time, we'll be going over those replays, then we can catch up on GSL proper. I believe at GSL Group Stage 2 is going to be next week. Again, really condensed, really short format. Group Stage 1, 1 week, Group Stage 2 the other week, and then playoffs the week after, or like 2 weeks after that. So just very condensed. And as a reminder, Season 2 is at the end of the month. End of the month will be Season 2. So very little time for the players to catch their breath and to compete. Very condensed, very little time. But regardless, do check out and do support GSL nonetheless. You know, they have their own Patreon as well. They have their own way to support the main events. You can also gain replays via Patreon if you wish to support. If you want some benefits, then Patreon is the place to be. Speaking of Patreon, speaking of supporting events, before that, we have the sign-up list. ! Sign up in the chat. We do have the sign-up list available to us here. We do have sign-ups for future events on the horizon. So do check it out. I believe yet to be fully updated, but regardless, we do have sign-ups for DreamHack Dallas, Sparkling Tuna Cup, Duckling Open, StarCraft Evolution League. There's plenty of events on that list. So do consider checking it out to sign up to take part in all these tournaments. Do check it out. Likewise, we also have the Patreon, ! Patreon in the chat. If you want to support us here on the CranKy Ducklings, 100% of the money on Patreon goes towards our tournaments, goes towards Sparkling Tuna Cup, Duckling Open, and Masters 1 Open as well. We run plenty of events throughout the weeks and throughout the months, and all that money goes towards them. If you want to support us, if you want to help support the scene, then Patreon is the place to be to help grow our events and help us reach greater prize pools and pay the players even more and do what we can for the scene, for the community, especially in the current environment. It's all about grassroots StarCraft. There's less of a chance for, there is no circuit anymore. So grassroots StarCraft and events like this, whether it's our events or events like RSL, events like Pigsty Festival, War East tournaments, these are the tournaments that the players will now have to rely upon, and we do our best to bring them to you and bring you as much content as we can. So consider supporting over on Patreon. Otherwise, we are going to be wrapping up here for the week. Again, a bit of a shorter broadcast, just under 2 hours. Let's go. We did make it. And again, our next broadcast is going to be tomorrow. I mentioned it earlier, but the May Madness is going to be tomorrow at 2 p.m. AEST. That's going to be 1 p.m. KST. That is going to be in, around 13-ish hours. Or 14-ish hours, so do check it out over on the channel. Likewise, Duckling Open is also tomorrow, and Brazilian StarCraft 2 Circuit, Euthermal's future tournaments, more May Mayhem, War TV Monday. There's a lot of content over the weekend. When it comes to the GSL replay cast, that's going to be Tuesday the 13th. We got you covered with GSL Wednesday as well, so Tuesday and Wednesday, we got you covered with GSL. Likewise, RSL qualifiers are next week. Jesus, RSL also on the horizon. StarCraft Evolution League and many more, or much more StarCraft, much more content. Do consider checking it out over the rest of the week. When it comes to DreamHack Dallas, as a reminder, DreamHack Dallas is at the end of the month. End of the month is DreamHack Dallas. GSL Season 2, end of the month as well. We have Star Zagora beginning of June, we have Home Story Cup end of June, and we have EWC end of July. It's all coming to a head, back-to-back content, back-to-back StarCraft. It's going to be a jam-packed couple of months, and we'll do our best to cast as much of it as we can. As always, here on the CranKy Ducklings. As always. If you're interested, you can follow myself at @Light_VIP. I do stream throughout the week, or at least I try to. I don't often have a lot of time to stream and a lot of time to ladder, but I do my best to to have some time to ourselves to either play some StarCraft or to play some Final Fantasy or to play some other games. In recent times, I've been trying to have more free time and do less casting to be able to stream and take a break from things, but it's still difficult because there's so much StarCraft going on. I'm trying to find a nice balance. That's at least what I'm trying to do on my personal channel. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Thank you for the support. Also, I have confirmation this weekend. Yaku is going to be casting Sparkling Tuna Cup. I'm putting him on the spot. I believe he should be casting. So myself and Yaku on the Tunica. What is this? 2024? It's been so long. Look forward to that. Potentially Steel Mold also covering Sea Duckling Open over the weekend, and of course Kuro also covering Sea Duckling Open as well. So plenty of content over the horizon, plenty of StarCraft. Do support us if you wish, whether it's monetarily or check out the socials, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all things CranKy Ducklings, Discord as well. You can interact with us outside of just here on Twitch, and you can also follow the VODs, as we upload VODs on a daily basis. Plenty of VOD content out there for you. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Thanks for support. We're going to be seeing you guys next time. Again, this is a weekly show, so next week, next podcast. See you there. Until then, hasta luego. Ciao, papi, ciao. Hasta luego.